holistic way in which they can start to just, like you said, clean out the system, start to jumpstart their metabolism a little by little, because this isn't something that happens overnight, correct?
Correct. So let me tell you, did you know, for example, that we have two types of fat? We have white fat and we've got brown fat. And we're all familiar with white fat. White fat is the fat that we see, the fat around the middle and the hips and the thighs, the fat that we complain about. That's white fat. It has a completely different metabolism than brown fat. White fat is actually storage. Brown fat actually burns energy and keeps our body temperature normal. And brown fat has a lot to do with our metabolism. As babies, we have a lot of brown fat. We knew that. A few years ago, we found out, you know what? Adults have brown fat too. And the interesting thing about brown fat is that we have a very, very, very small percentage of it. But when it's activated, it cleans out about half the amount of fat and sugar in our system and uses it as energy to keep us warm. If we can find a way to enhance our brown fat, that's one of the best ways that we can enhance our metabolism. Now, there are a few ways that we can do that. So you're wondering, like, how much brown fat, what do I need to do? So to give you an idea how much brown fat we have, and we may even have less than this, it's about 1/4 pound or so, or even less than that. It's only located a little bit in our neck and along collarbones, maybe a little bit around our kidneys. So that's where you find brown fat, and we need special equipment to see it. That's why it's taken us so long to really get to that. Simple things. And we've talked about this before, but I want you to start seeing these things in a different light. The first thing that we can do is exercise. And you go, wah, 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 wah. Here she goes again. But here's the thing about exercise. Exercise actually engages the muscles, and the muscles release a special hormone that then activates more brown fat. So for those of us, studies are actually saying that those of us who have slightly larger quantities of brown fat tend to be able to not only maintain our body weight, which many of us are focused on, but also decrease our risk of things like diabetes and other metabolic illnesses. So that's really important. This is where exercise comes in. It works in so many different ways. And here we are finding out another way that exercise works. Remember when you heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away?
Yes.
Well, it turns out in more ways than one. We know about apples that has fiber and pectin. We talked about it a little bit with cholesterol. But the skin of an apple has a special ingredient in it called oxalic acid. And that has actually been shown to activate more of our brown fat and may even be able to turn white fats into brown fats, and so enhance our metabolism. So that's another way that apples work. So one of my favorite ways to use apples is the green smoothie I did a few weeks ago that had, spinach and celery, and it definitely had an apple in that. So that's one of the smoothies that I pretty much drink every day.
Okay.
And let me just say this one thing, and then we'll jump right into other things. But sleeping, and I know we talked about sleeping and inflammation and weight and so on and so forth, but melatonin, the sleep hormone, has actually been shown to enhance the metabolism of brown fats and also help us to make more of them, or convert over more of brown fats to white fats. So here we see the lifestyle things that we've been talking about work in a slightly different way. Once we start understanding how they work, we're understanding why we are doing them. And so hopefully it gives us more incentive to continue to do them.
So just a quick note for those who are wondering, we will put the smoothie recipe in the chat area so you guys can have that and try it out starting tomorrow. But Dr. Harry, I want to unpack something that you just said when you mentioned melatonin. So melatonin comes as a supplement as well. So, moms, women are always looking for like these quick fixes. If they take melatonin, the actual in the liquid form, does that assist with increasing the metabolism?
It may, about 3 milligrams or no more. And if you know me, I always want your body to be able to do its own thing. So along with that, do things to help you to sleep. Don't take melatonin and think, oh, wow, it's going to take care of everything else. If you're helping melatonin as a way of helping you to change your sleep patterns and, helping you to get to sleep a little bit more easily, then yeah, that would be a good way to use it, assuming you don't have any contraindications to that.
No, that's actually good. A pivot to that, I want to add to that is that we also got a question about apple cider vinegar, taking a shot of that, so to speak, in the morning as the first thing on your stomach. What do you say about that?
Well, I think that can be a little tricky because many people have experience, and I know many of my patients have that burning sensation with the apple cider vinegar, and some people really cannot tolerate it. Now, if you can, it's kind of acting as an initial digestive aid. Apple cider vinegar can do that, kind of keep the stomach environment a little bit acidic. That's where it needs to be when we start eating, get the whole digestive process working properly. But if you've got history of gastritis or peptic ulcer disease or any of those things, it's really not a good idea to use that because it can really aggravate that.
That's a good point. I mean, when we talk about exercise, which we kind of glossed over that when you mentioned it earlier, but if you think about the number, all of us are trying to look for measurable benchmarks. When you talk about exercise, whether the person has a Fitbit or they want to use a timer, what's the parameters on how much exercise they should actually be incorporating into their daily routine in order to ensure that they're getting the right amount to jumpstart that metabolism?
Okay, so we recommend about 30 minutes, 5 days a week if you can. Now, don't start thinking of it as like, oh my God, where am I going to find 30 minutes in my day? 10 minutes 3 times a day also adds up to 30 minutes. So it's really just getting moving is the most important thing. You start with one thing and then you increase slightly and then you increase slightly. So the best exercise is really the one that you're going to be consistent with. And ideally, of course, we want to get a little bit of weight training in there, especially as we get older. We want to keep those muscles that produce that special ingredient that helps us with the brown fat, right? So we want to do some resistance exercising. We want to be able to also do a flexibility and all of those kind of things as well. So 30 minutes, 5 times a week, shoot for that. Is really much easier to do than you think it is. You don't have to do it all at once. There are many times I don't have the time to do it all at once. So I will do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 5 minutes here. Just do what you can.
Yeah, so you actually posted a video a couple days ago. It's almost been a week, I think, of you just doing some traditional yoga, Pilates in there. How does stretching, in addition to, and kind of building that core, in addition to the weight training, help with just the metabolism as a whole?
Well, I think maintaining your flexibility could do a couple of things, right? It could decrease your risk of injury, just help you to move more easily, help you to be a little bit more athletic because you're not moaning and groaning and things are not stiff and not moving well. So you want to include all of that because as we get older, all of that is really important. And we know as we get older, a tendency is to become less flexible unless we work on it.
No, and I think for those of us that are listening, what we're hearing is that when you talk about weight training, you're talking about a little bit of curls. So you can use weights, you can use ankle weights correctly, but you can also use your body weight, right? And that's what I saw you on your last video. You were using a lot of body weight to weight train as well. So they don't need additional, at home, right?
You don't need additional weights. You can use resistance bands if you have them. Your body weight is something that you always have with you. So, even walking is kind of a weight bearing exercise. You're bearing your whole body weight. So when we're talking about, just include some resistance with that. And when you use your body weight, you absolutely can create a lot of resistance because, trying to hold this much body weight up on 2 tiny arms, that's resistance, let me tell you.
Indeed. What's funny is that we've talked a lot about this elephant in the room. And so I want to just bring this up. You talk a lot about sugar. Mm-hmm. And how does sugar play into the either decrease of your metabolism or the removing it from your diet? Does that help with kind of being able to jumpstart a little bit quicker and getting yourself to where that optimal space is around metabolism and exercise and optimal health?
Well, I think with sugar, you have to start, for me, I start thinking, is it nutrient dense? Because most of the times, sugar takes up a lot of nutrient space. So if you are substituting nutrients with sugar, that's going to be an issue because you need certain nutrients in order to be able for your metabolism to work properly, for the body systems to work properly. And excess sugar, the only thing the body is really going to do with that is to try to get it out of circulation into storage. And the white fats that we talked about has the incredible capacity to store, and store. So it doesn't run out of space. So when the liver gets filled up, sugar and all of its excess calories is going to be stored into white fat, which we know is inflammatory because it's actually we used to think white fat just kind of sits there and we don't like it. But the thing that happens with it is that it creates inflammatory things. And then that can increase your risk of multiple chronic illnesses like we talked about before. So anything in excess is a problem. So sugar in excess would usually mean now you're replacing your nutrients with that. And so you really want to have nutrients. And if sugar happens to be included in the nutrients, like sugar is, for example, we'll find sugar in fruits.
Right.
Yeah, you include that.
So, when we talk to our listeners who are over 40, what are some of the top products, nutrient-dense foods that you think that you would recommend should be a part of everyone's diet if they're looking to kind of jumpstart their metabolism and they know that they're aging, so their body isn't making some of those same vitamins and natural components as quickly as it used to. So what are some of your favorites? And you can pick your top 3.
Okay, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but vegetables are always among the tops because it just really has all of the nutrients that we tend not to get in other places. So try to get as many of those as you possibly can. Smoothies and soups are my 2 favorite ways to be able to do that. Now, recent studies are telling us that good healthy fats, the omega-3s that are found in things like fish, which in sardines, tuna, that sort of stuff, and in nuts, well, those healthy fats not only counteract inflammation, which we know is a problem as well, especially if we're trying to maintain healthier body weight and decrease our risk of chronic illnesses and pain. But also these omega-3s have also been linked with helping our brown fat to work better as well. So we're looking at omega-3. So those are the 2 top things. And a recent study that just came out basically says that, if we want to protect our memory, those are the 2 top things as well that we use. So we see they're kind of working across the board with that. And the other thing that you really need to include is movement and sleep. So if I have to say, those would be my 4 top things to use. If you're talking about, what kind of nutrients, well, that would really depend on the kind of diet, your kind of lifestyle, your kind of activity that you're doing in terms of what nutrients would support what you are trying to accomplish. Because the better you feel, the more you do, and that's really what it boils down to.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to play a little game to kind of wrap this up. I'm going to mention a food group or a product, and I'm going to ask you to say myth or fact. So myth if it's not something that really will help you with your metabolism, fact if it will. All right, so I'm just going to start. The first one is sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut is a fermented food, okay? So basically what it has now, we're looking at good probiotics. And so there have been several studies that had looked at, does the content of the bacteria in your gut play a role in how healthy you are? And the answer in many of those studies, actually, yes, we need to have good bacteria in a gut to be able to have a healthier weight. So I would say sauerkraut, yes, it's a go because it's a natural way of getting good probiotics.
All right, next, bananas.
Bananas are super high in potassium. It's a good source of sugar because they also have other minerals in it, but it also gives you that carb boost as well. It has a little bit of magnesium in it. And honestly, when you're trying to get greens in a smoothie and you're trying to get it down, a banana is a great way to be able to improve the taste and make it seem like you're not having any greens at all.
All right, next, yogurt.
Yogurt, another good source of probiotic. And actually, a recent study showed that people who consumed whole dairy products, and by whole dairy, it means not skim, not 2%. Actually, 2 servings a day, I think they found actually they were able to just maintain a healthier body weight. So it may be because it has calcium. It may be because it also yogurt, of course, has probiotics as well. That's why it's yogurt. So it's a good choice. But watch the sugar in yogurts, because the problem with yogurt oftentimes is that when you get the mixed yogurt, the sugar content in that fruit is really super high. So I would always suggest, just get the plain yogurt and kind of flavor it the way you want to. Smush some blueberries in there and sprinkle a little bit of honey, and you've created and controlled your amount of sugar and taste that you want.
No, that's a good idea. So plain Greek yogurt is good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the last one is mixed nuts or peanuts. Pick.
Mixed nuts are great because, believe it or not, there are several nuts. For example, walnuts and almonds have been linked to help us to maintain a healthier weight. And I always say everything in portion sizes, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Now, yes, we all love nuts. And I too, if I have a big jar, will sit and eat the whole thing. I'm probably not going to maintain a healthy weight doing that. But when you do the portion sizes of nuts daily, decreases inflammation, helps us to maintain a healthier weight, again, because it has the omega-3s as well. A really question that I get a lot is, what about peppers? Because people hear about that a lot, and capsaicin. Well, because capsaicin gives a pepper a little bit of heat. And I know many people think of that as a weight support supplement. Actually, there's some studies that says, you know what, it helps your brown fat to work better. But the issue is, can your tongue tolerate it? Or your stomach, for that matter. So again, everybody's different.
Okay. And so when you're saying jalapeno peppers, like
chili peppers, most peppers in our family, peppers with a little bit of heat.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. Dr. Harry, you always like to take us out with just a gem and a reminder to all of your listeners. Any last thoughts about metabolism that you want to share?
Yes, I do have a last thought, because the key thing here is, remember, ladies, let's be aware to manage our stress, because a recent study looking at women in particular, did not include men in this study, found that women with higher stress levels actually burned about 125 calories less than women who did not report higher stress levels. That may not seem to be a lot to you, but over the course of a year, that's about 11 pounds that you're looking at. So it's really important to manage your stress levels as well.
Sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, you will find information below of how to connect with Dr. Harry directly. If you need a one-on-one appointment, telehealth in medicine is taking over for the next couple of months. So please check in with your provider. She'll give you great tips on how to continue on your journey to becoming your best self. Also, you have an opportunity to sign up for the private group, Be Iconic. And that information is below as well. If you need health expert, if you need tips, if you want accountability partners, all of that information and all of that happens within that private group. So I encourage all of you to sign up and reach out to us, DM Dr. Harry through Facebook, and she'll be sure to respond. So there's no excuses for making sure that we continue to kind of jumpstart that metabolism and end the year on a good note. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Live, laugh, love, and be iconic. Until next week. Thank you, Dr. Harry.
Bye-bye.